Jacinda Ardern's New Zealand government is becoming even more authoritarian by centralising media and press and going after independent journalism because it's all fake news.
Particularly through social media. We had to act, so we made it a priority to establish a public interest journalism fund to help our media continue to produce stories that keep New Zealanders informed.
Translation. They are now, well, they have started quite recently, over the last year or two. It's becoming even worse. She's creating a pseudo nationalized state TV propaganda machine so that anybody who questions her politics and her government is fake news. Independent journalists are no longer credible. You all have to basically get your news from the main source, which is her government, her state, New Zealand. You can't hear it from anybody else. The mainstream media could also promote news as long as they say what Jacinda Ardern wants them to say. I wonder where else we've had things like this. I think there's a country called China that does this. I think there are countries like North Korea and Iran that do this. Now we have a democratic country, technically, that are going to become a copycat like the Chinese Communist Party. And I'm going to talk about that because the friendship between Jacinda Ardern and President Xi is still dodgy. Now, this is the same New Zealand who's been supported by The Guardian. The Guardian says, fractious Australia, because Australians are the bad guys. Yeah, you Australians, they have much to learn from the kindness and the kindness of New Zealand politics. So the Kiwi politics is kind, it's sensible, and it's liberal and democratic. And Australians are the barbarians. Apparently, they need to learn from them. Is this the same New Zealand, the New Zealand politics and Jacinda Ardern's government? That, as we said, are going against independent journalism and independent thought? Is it the same Jacinda Ardern whose police force have been hunting down anti-lockdowners? Is it the same Jacinda Ardern who's imposed a new ban on smoking? But whatever you think in terms of smoking as a thing, whether you like it or not, some people don't like it, so ideally don't want it to exist. That's an opinion. As individual citizens, we could have an opinion. But when it comes to practical policies, it's their job to understand the reality, to understand what happens when you ban certain regular sins, as they say. You create black markers, you create absolute chaotic situation in your country. Well, for example, in Iran, post-revolution in 79, they banned a lot of things, but chewing gum for women and smoking for women. And then they had to eventually reverse it, and it turned into more of a cultural taboo rather than an actual ban. Doesn't help. Of course, they banned everything else, and they created black market, including alcohol. It is the same Jacinda Ardern, who's best friends with President Xi and Chinese Communist Party, telling her what to do in terms of the trade policies and how they act when it comes to the so-called friendship and alliance with Australia. The same New Zealand who abandoned the Five Eyes with their actual allies, the UK, US, Canada, us, Australia. The same New Zealand who's betraying right now the concept of Kanzuk, the trade and cooperative alliance between them and us and the rest of the Commonwealth countries that are the key Commonwealth countries who wanted to trade with each other. Don't tell me that the New Zealand politics is kind and has purpose. It doesn't. This is not a normal liberal democracy. It's authoritarian in the name of democracy. Jacinda Ardern is not a good person. Fact. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching. I'm Tousi and we are the media.